Man,
Anyway.
it kind of, this is a little bit left field, but it's sort of, I don't know how Japanese studios do it, to be honest, but I was playing Dark Souls 2 the other day, like the disgusting human I am, according to some Dark Souls fans. But anyway, I was just kind of sitting there and like you doing normal basic attacks and just looking at the animation and how it flows, and I'm just like, man, I don't know how they do it, but like Japanese studios, they just do flow for movement so well, it seems, like in 3D games. Like the 3D games I've played, at least, they have like the best flow of movement to them. Like it just makes it's just satisfying, even though it may not make sense like completely 100%. And I feel like that's, in my opinion, much more important than like, oh, it has to look super realistic. Like, God, I feel like that mocap thing you're talking about led me, or maybe it didn't, and maybe I should just go on about this a little bit, but it kind of reminded me of Enter the Matrix's in-game cutscenes, and for some reason, Shiny Entertainment, who I think is no longer with us after like 15 years or something, they touted so much about like, oh man, we have motion capture stuff, and the actors literally put these like ball things on their body and they move and we capture them and make these in-game cutscenes. And I'm just sitting there like, why didn't you just make like actual film cutscenes? Because I guarantee you, man, like the moment it came out, the moment that game came out, it was dated. Like it was not good. Like it was not, I will say it was good, but it was not like cutting edge. Like, oh man, like fucking Resident Evil 1 remake looks better than that game, and it came out like a year before that or something. Like there's games that look way better than it, but it just feels like, wow, where'd that $60 million budget meme go to? Probably that stupid shit where they took the actors and didn't even really use them to their fullest potential because they were being motion captured. Which they didn't always need to be there, maybe, and they have this facial capture that looks pretty good. I will say it looks decent. I will say that, like but the hands, dude, the hands are fucked. Like you can tell they didn't capture any hand things. The hands are always like PS1 hands. It's like they're grabbing something with their full mitts. It's like they're wearing mitts
the gloves
everywhere. Yeah. They're wearing mitts. And when they talk, they like put their hand up. It's like San Andreas.
I can see it. I can see their
San
weird
Andreas.
little stubby hands. Oh, it's so weird looking.
Dude, so they motion capture the body and the face sometimes, but then the hands and some like they just don't match up, dude. The in-game cutscenes look infinitely worse than the film cutscenes, even though they wanted to tout, dude, we can do anything with in-game cutscenes. But you don't. You make dog shit with in-game cutscenes. Anyway, I'm going to explain that in my video that I hopefully will release by the end of the year. On Enter the Matrix. But yeah, man, it's motion capture is it can be great, but it can be complete dog shit.
Yeah, I feel like that stuff was more. That was a 2001, 2002 game. Was it?
Enter the Matrix was 2003.
Oh, 2003. Okay, I feel like that stuff was more like, oh, the motion capture. We put the balls on them.
Yeah, novelty.
I feel like that was
they
more.
Did it.
That was like more interesting at the time. I feel like that was kind of a new thing.
Yeah, and then fucking disaster movies became big, like fucking CGI bullshit in like 2010. Like for some reason there was a big surge, and dude, look at how good the CG is. That's literally the whole movie. Oh 2012. It's literally just.
I was thinking of 2012. I'm thinking of Roland Emmerich. That's the first one my mind jumps to.
Like all right.
Yeah.
I'm literally an engineer, like a technician guy. I'm literally an engineer, you know. And I appreciate how far computers have come, but we're getting to a point where like I see the most beautiful CG space thing I've ever seen, and I'm just like, okay, cool.
Yeah, I remember that way back in like the Red Letter Media prequel, like Mr. Plinkett reviews of the prequels. And even back then in like 2009 when those videos were made, he was like, with like the, you know, the opening sequence of episode 3 where it's like the big space battle.
Star Wars?
Yeah, Star Wars Episode 3, The Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even during that whole sequence, everyone was like freaking out over it at the time. And in the Plinkett review, he's just like, "Yeah, someone made it with a computer. It was definitely, it looks good. It probably took a lot of work, but I just look at it and I think just someone made this in a computer."
Yeah.
And even back then, it was like, I don't know, I could feel it was getting kind of tired. Like that's another point. Actually, those reviews were super ahead of their time, because even back then in 2000, I think the episode 3 review was maybe like 2011 or something. Even then, he made the point that having good special effects isn't really like a drawing point anymore. It's not a selling point, because everything has good special effects. It's the norm that it looks at least pretty good.
Yeah, it's definitely how I think you use those effects, because I've seen some very retro, old school ass effects.
Yeah.
That people have used in Adobe. In my opinion, I think some of the effects that I use in some of my previous videos are kind of of old school nature, old hat, and I feel like it's partly because I don't know how to do crazy good effects, but also because I think crazy good effects at one point are just very tired. And I just like the craft of kind of finding what works.
Yeah. There used to be a time where, I was 11 and I would watch Nostalgia Critic, and he'd make the lightning effect happen. And I was like, whoa, this is so high production value. And now I fucking use Premiere every day, and I'm like, that's just a fucking stock plug-in effect. That just comes with it.
Oh, Nostalgia Critic, man. I've been so coin flip about him. Some of his videos are pretty good, and some of his reviews are decent, but I never really got onto his comedy. It's very bad. I had this weird arc. I don't think I've watched anything. I haven't actually watched anything by him. Oh God, since high school, maybe 2017, something like that. Which was when a little after he came back to YouTube. He was off YouTube for a while, and there was just a billion re-upload channels that would just re-upload his videos from his website, and that was the main way I watched them. And as a kid, I was so into Nostalgia Critic, and I think the thing that was more impactful, or that has such a strong stain in my mind. Have you ever watched the Channel Awesome anniversary movies? I haven't, actually.
Dude.
I've never seen anything really by Channel Awesome. It's mostly been Nostalgia Critics, solo reviews of movies like Blade 2, Matrix.
Yeah, but I don't how familiar would you say you are with them?
Not very familiar. I know not really anything.
They're something else. Because it's all written and directed and starring Doug Walker. And it's crazy. It would be really fun to sit down and do a commentary track over, honestly. Because they're so fucking out there and bad, and they keep getting longer. The first one he did's a little over an hour. It's basically feature length, and the second one's 2 hours, and the third one's over 3 hours. And it's so, they're all so overblown and poorly produced and poorly acted and poorly written, and they're just there to I don't know. It's so good. It's such a strange energy. I feel weird, and this is why I the thing about Channel Awesome pretty much is now just the Nostalgia Critic, but back when it was a big network of people, there was this. I don't really know how to describe it to someone today, because it was such like a it's like Toho. I don't know. When I think of Toho, I think of like something that's incredibly niche, but also weirdly super popular. And that's like the only way that I could describe Channel Awesome, or That Guy with the Glasses, I guess, as it used to be. Is there was like so many people. They all had like their little audiences, but they were also like connected, and they did crossovers, and it was like this little network of them, and they would do these movies together, and like you would just end up watching. I just ended up watching so many of them. To be fair, a lot of them were really good. There were some that I still think are like pretty entertaining. I still like I love Phalus. I don't know how much. Yeah, I guess you never really watched other Channel Awesome stuff, but there's some other like really good people that came out of there, and it's so difficult to describe it to someone who like wasn't who like wasn't there. Which is why I feel my girlfriend was also really into Channel Awesome, like around the same age that I was. So like that was very comforting to me because I felt like someone understood.
Well, I mean, I understand to a degree that, at least in my opinion, Doug Walker just doesn't really play to his like true strengths from what I've seen, and I think his true strengths are like review, like an honest, smart review of something, versus when he tries to do something like that's comedic or something, because like his comedy and some of his sketches, like I'd say a lot of his sketch, like 80% of his sketches are not funny. Like they are downright bad. Like I think the only time I was like laughing at his sketches was when he was reviewing 1997 Spawn. Because I think that one had like a devil sketch. Maybe I wouldn't laugh at it now. Like Kermit is the devil or something, I think, and which I thought was really
very Doug Walker sketch.
Yeah,
wow.
Which I thought was a little funny.
Just the name it's like.
Yeah, Kermit is the devil is like the whole is like the joke.
Yeah, that sounds like a Doug Walker sketch.
But it's just because it's so absurd. Not really because like the writing is good or like the jokes are pretty. Yeah, but
it's just
when he has when he has like an honest review of something, like I think one of my favorite reviews from him is like Blade 2, because in my mind I remembered like, oh, the Blade sequel sucked, dude. But then I watched his Blade 2 review and I'm like, wait a minute, Blade 2 was actually really good. Actually, like it actually reminded me that I need to rewatch the movie because it's like worth a watch. Like I don't know. I feel like that was pretty good, pretty cool of him to do, but he always oversteps and is just, I don't know. He always has to really make something crazy. Like he's got to put himself out there with a bad joke, or I don't know.
I totally feel you on that, because like I actually also enjoyed like I don't know I think he still does them every now and again, but he would do these I forget what he would call, like editorials or something like that, which are basically just these like 10-minute little video essays on a topic related to movies usually. And I remember like enjoying them. Like I thought that they were actually decent little like think pieces about movies. And I think that he actually understands, or he's able to like articulate his thoughts decently well, and his thoughts are like, I don't know, like I think it's pretty solid. And then once he tries to, it's like he only, and again, I haven't watched any of his stuff in years, but I there was a point where I think I'd seen every Nostalgia Critic episode, and I felt like he had to like force the thing to be bad in the way that he talked about it. Like, if that makes sense. Like, he would just be criticizing stuff, and then like you go and watch the movie, you're like, it's really not like that bad. He would just say things like, every single Nostalgia Critic, like whatever he would do at the end of the episode, he would like summarize all the things that are wrong with it, and like in every single one he goes, the plot makes no sense. I remember thinking like, I understood that. You can understand the plot, it's just dumb.
Yeah, he definitely over exaggerates at times.
Yeah,
he
and
downplays something.
Yeah, it like hurts the quality of the review if you're gonna call it a review.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also such a weird, like, I don't know if he's as critical now, but like the angry reviewer thing is very, it's like 10 years out of date.
Yeah, man, I think Angry Video Game Nerd pretty much like perfected that with video games.
And
like,
he was
I feel
the
like
original.
He did it well.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I haven't watched a lot of his stuff. I've heard it's really good though, like AVGN.
Yeah, I haven't. I honestly haven't watched his videos in a couple years. He doesn't put them out super often anymore. But yeah, he was another one I'd seen. I'm pretty sure I've seen the first 200 episodes or whatever of it. That was like a big part of my childhood. And it's funny looking at him compared to like other people who did video, because for being so early in the game, I think the first one was made in like 2004 or something like that.
Whoa.
Something like that.
Jeez.
And it was just like a little short film he made that he posted on like his own website. And it's really interesting to see like even so early on how high quality his stuff was in terms of not even really like equipment, but just like production value and like direction. Like it's not just like him sitting in front of a wall. It's like there's always different shots, there's different angles, he presents things in different ways. There was a period where he was like just kind of, it was when he was under Screw Attack, now Death Battle, and they were just kind of had him pumping them out like every week. And they sort of got like a little formulaic because he had to produce them at a pretty fast clip. But when he wasn't doing that, like pretty interesting kinds of like changing up the formula, changing even just like the way he presented things. Like I love the Atari 5200 episode, which is, the Atari the console.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the gigantic box. And I remember like a lot of people didn't like that episode because the whole thing is just him trying to plug it in. The whole video is just like an extended, almost slapstick sketch of him trying to find like a socket, and he's like, it's got this giant adapter. Fuck, I gotta move this stuff around, and it's so like he's hauling it around. And I think like a lot of people didn't like it because he never really talks about any of the games. He spends like 2 minutes on the games, and I think he said later the reason why was just that like the games weren't that interesting, but he wanted to talk about the 5200, so he made it about how big and weird it was. And it's
I was gonna say, man.
Yeah.